Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Improv Comedy and TTRPGs, a conversation with comedian Tim Platt from the podcast Rude Tales of Magic. I am Blair Dawson, the community manager of TabletopTown app, and let me introduce Tim Platt. Tim is a Brooklyn based comedian. You might have seen him on Comedy Central, Masterclass with Steve Martin, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and most importantly, like I said, the award winning narrative podcast, Rude Tales of Magic, which we will be discussing at length today. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, cool. Thank you for reading all my stuff. That's amazing.
Of course. It's on your website, and everyone can find it. Google Tim Platt. So, Tim, jumping into the convo, um, can you tell me what is a tabletop role playing game and explain it to me like I'm five?
Barely can I do this. I really do think it's playing pretend with I think it's playing pretend with systems of calculated chance and success, right? Like I think it is playing pretend with externalized decision with an agreed upon externalized decision maker that is in some ways inanimate or social. Right? I think because I think there's a bunch of TTRPGs that are about an external person making decisions or and how that external person integrates with, a randomizer of some sort. I don't know if
Tim,
that's
you
if that's a
have
good
to
answer.
remember I'm 5 years
Oh,
old.
you're right. You said five. Oh, fuck.
Pretend
Yay.
I'm five. What's a system manager? What?
Yo, that's so true. I completely misjudged this 5-year-old. Um,
I'm
it's
not that precocious.
it's playing pretend with friends with some rules, with some agreed upon rules.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Actually, that is so helpful. That is really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me.
No problem. I'm
Um,
sorry. I
so jumping,
thought you were 12. I thought you were 12, in which case what I said would have really worked.
Tim Platt is actually the person who first explained tabletop role playing games to me, and he was like, "At the end of the day, it's just people telling stories."
Yeah,
And
something like
that's what I say to myself, telling stories.
that's
I like to think it's telling stories mixed with a little bit of Sims because you get to create your character,
sure.
and then some other rules. But who cares about
Yeah,
rules?
but to be totally fair, it's like one thing I've learned from doing Rude Tales of Magic and our other podcast, These Are the Stars of Space, which is using lasers and feelings rather than Dungeons and Dragons. Doing those two things as a participant, and it being sort of some of the really my only time as an adult playing TTRPG. I have learned that there is such a vast and diverse base of gaming media and gaming enthusiasts and fans and participants that like I am coming from a very improv storytelling space, and there's so many people who are there for improv and storytelling, but for much more crunchy game rule stuff, who really love playing with the rules, who really love sort of working within very clear rule-based systems in ways that I tend to ignore based on what groups I'm in. I mean, I really only play with people who are down for a more improvised adventure or down to sort of like throw
Mm-hmm.
aside for the sake of a scene, really a scene or like an exciting found plot movement. And so like that's the way I see things, but I'm pretty aware that like that's not everyone's taste as a player, as a creator, or as a participant. So it's like that's what I think, but I do think there's a lot of other people who feel in different ways. And it's not like a binary. There's a bunch of these sort of trade moments when certain things are important to you, I think.
Yeah. Was your first session, was it after developing your improv comedy skills, or had you played before delving into improv?
So I think the first time I ever did anything like this was in like high school when I did Vampire the Masquerade. Do you know Vampire the Masquerade?
Vaguely, it's been mentioned in a meeting or a thread.
Yeah, it's a vampire. It's a world where all vampires. And that I played that with some friends from high school, and we played it a few times. We really liked it. We got into it. We did get really into it, but it was so based on one friend's sort of enthusiasm for GMing. And so we all sort of like
Hmm.
joined in him for that. And so it felt very theatrical and felt very like there was a lot of license to play there, but it was all sort of his. It was really the pleasure of watching him be a great storyteller. And so I
Right, you
didn't
were
really.
like,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, just like if you build it, they will come type of attitude.
Yeah, and so I didn't really pursue that or any games like that after that because it felt so much like, oh no, this is a way to hang out with Steven. And Steven's so good at this, and he made soundtracks to the fight scenes. He's like did all that stuff. This is fun to play with Steven, and I'll be a crazy vampire or a crazy werewolf. Um,
Hmm.
but
It's
that
Steve
was
Worrell.
yeah, it was like we just let it was fun to have him lead. And so like I
Hmm.
don't remember anything about like what I did or what characters I did or any really what characters anyone else did. I just remember Steven being like really good at guiding us. And then in terms of like Rude Tales, we started that in 2019, and I had only played with that group, and that group who was on the podcast, like I played with them maybe 3 or 4 sessions outside of the podcast before. Um, so that was like years after I had started doing improv, and it was very much just like I was invited with an already existing group of friends who were doing stuff, and I was friends with most of them, but I was definitely invited into a D&D group that had played for a long time and I had not. So it was
Hmm.
very, very new, and also they were all very open to me being inexperienced, and so there's a lot of fudging that was allowed. There was a lot of work done for me, so I didn't have to like learn everything up top, which I did eventually have to learn afterwards. But like I was really welcomed with very little experience to people who knew what was up and were willing to bend to my lack of experience in those ways. So I appreciate that.
What system was the first campaign that you guys
D-
played?
5e D&D. Yeah.
Okay, what was your character? Do you remember
I was a
your first
turtle.
one?
Yeah, I was a turtle, a big turtle, big turtle man, who was a cleric,
Hmm.
who like I invented a death deity for him to be into. And he was a really the thing that really excited me about him was that he was a really old man, and his adult sons didn't talk to him anymore. There was no beef; they just didn't talk to him anymore. And I miss my adult sons. And so that was sort of like that was what got me into. And he had a big shovel. He dug a bunch of he worked at a graveyard and dug
Yes,
graves.
a turtle that digs and is an old man who
A
wishes
turtle
he
that
spoke
digs
to his
holes.
adult children.
Yes, a turtle.
Yeah. Okay, sorry everyone. We are just having some technical difficulties. It does say that you are the host, Peter, in the Zoom. I, for me, it says you're the host, so I don't have the ability to transfer anymore.
Okay, so we're gonna keep
Okay.
talking to anyone who can't hear what's happening. We're gonna keep talking until a new link is able to cleanly transfer us over to there, for a variety of technical reasons that you may or may not have been able to hear. But if you were not able to hear it, or even if you were able to hear it, either way, I think what's important is to realize that these little bumps happen in streams, just as they happen in just and games
Hmm.
too. That's the way they happen with our friends.
Exactly.
And
We're rolling with it.
our interpersonal social connections are in many ways platforms, platforms within which we function and we have to adapt. Now, isn't that an interesting idea, Blair? Isn't that an interesting thought? Would you agree?
I would say so. I would agree. So worthy of conversation. But I will say, okay, what is the premise of Rude Tales of Magic? And can you explain Rude Tales to someone who is, let's say, hypothetically, my 68-year-old mother, Susan?
Yeah, it's like what if the characters of Looney Tunes were in a fantasy world? Is what we always connect it to, like a D&D Looney Tunes style. You know,
Hmm. Alternate
uh
reality.
yeah, the world, the sort of fantasy world in the game is a first draft of a world that the gods abandoned. So we've got a lot of leeway
Hmm.
to fuck around and goof off. But it's very comedy forward, very play forward, very I'd say slapstick forward too, as well. But you can't play a character or you can't invest in any kind of story without real stakes and real exciting story things happening. So we try to keep very true to our roots as comedians, but you know, story somehow happens around that. So it's like
Have you ever
so
had a moment in a session where you were so deeply present in the drama and you almost shed a tear, if not did cry, based on the stakes?
um I have not cried, but that's because I'm so in it. Hold up. There is
Hmm.
a video meeting. Click the link. I'm gonna join this new link. Everyone, we're gonna be right.
The new link
We're gonna join this
coming
new
in.
link.
1 second.
Okay. I am asking. Look at this. I am doubled up. Okay.
Exit the Zoom.
I'm gonna exit the Zoom too. Boom. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me through the microphone?
I can hear you through the microphone.
Okay, great. Because this you can tell by how close I'm, so you can hear you can hear the microphone as. Yeah, you can. It's not the room.
Can you do ASMR in the in character for your turtle?
You walk back home after a long day at the spa. You went to the spa today, so you know you're very relaxed already. You went to the spa on a weekday. You went on a weekday because you wanted to take a time off for you. And also, the spa packages on weekdays were a little more affordable than the weekend ones. So you're walking back. You're stepping on the grass with your bare feet because you left your shoes at the spa. Your shoes at the spa. You grass between your webbed nose. Oh my goodness, you're no person. You're a duck thing.
Oh, they're duck thing. I don't know if there are duck characters in D&D. I don't believe so.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well,
I
you're
feel
a
like it's like
duck.
human, elf.
And this ASMR, you are a duck who just went to a spa.
Uh, um, yeah. Uh, uh,
So, Tim, we are still getting a little bit set up, but I will continue to Platt. Um, so let's say I have a TTRPG podcast and
Yes.
I'm beginning to market myself. Like, what advice would you have? And what has been your experience as a podcast in like finding your audience?
For us, a big thing that was valuable was that our GM, Branson Reese, um, already had a pretty big online following as a comedian and a cartoonist. So for us, we had a gift that not a lot of other groups have, where it's like he had a big audience that was like, "Hey, look, I'm doing D&D now," you know, and so that was a pretty big boon for us in the beginning of just like, oh, the guy from the comics you like is doing a podcast. The same as any other podcast, really. Except ours happened to be a gaming one. So
Mhm.
that's the thing that we started out with. So we started out with, and we also started out with a Patreon. So we pretty immediately were like, check this out. We have this content, and also we have bonus stuff too. So it was a pretty deliberate PR thing of like, a someone that you already know, hopefully, go to their other thing. And the moment you listen to the first episode, we've got more stuff already. So that was a way to get people into our Patreon pretty quickly. Um, and then, I think in terms of like building up an audience, I think having players who really want players who are down to talk about it to different communities of people. We all met because we all did comedy, but everyone in our group has like different credentials. We have like comic writers, we have artists, we have editors, we have comedians. So it was a wide swath of people who are able to promote and just consistently making Patreon content. So the people who did join the Patreon always had something they wanted to talk about. Um, so those are things that I think were valuable for us, but there were less podcasts. There were less D&D podcasts then than they are now, but there were still a lot. And I feel like there are a lot more now that I have a hard time like grasping the ecosystem, and how to break through some of those. I think is a little bit of a mystery to me. Because
Mhm.
there's so many now, and I see a lot of people on TikTok with podcasts, and I think that seems to be a good way too to like record video of your sessions and to have that be content that can bring people to the podcast itself. That's not something we do. We don't do video content of the recording sessions. Um, but that seems to be a pretty healthy way to like at least integrate to a TikTok market, which has a really big audience for these types of podcasts.
Mhm.
So I mean, the short answer is frankly a lot of production. Just like really being conscientious and smart and disciplined about production in whatever way that means. Definitely audio if you're doing a podcast, but sort of more production strategy, and
Mhm.
consistency. So like really know who I would say don't go out and throw your thing out into the ether because it's just too many. I would say feel pretty targeted about what are the podcasts that you sort of want people to connect your podcast with. Use them in hashtags when you're promoting stuff just to see what sticks. I don't know. It's hard. There's like 6 of us now who are working on it, and there's always something to do. There's always something to do. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It is interesting to think about how you have a team of 6 people, and that Patreon alone is enough of a job for the 6 of you to like constantly contribute to,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
think
and
people underestimate how much goes into these projects, you know?
yeah, and like some more than others, and some at different times than others, because we all have different careers outside of this. Like this is not paying us full time wages, but it pays us a good chunk, and we do put a lot of work into it. Um, so some people have different responsibilities and different times of the year, times of the week where they can be, you know, where they can take on more stuff. So it is a lot of there's a lot of communication. It requires a lot of communication. You know,
Hmm.
we used to be, um, we used to be work with a production company that was doing a lot of this stuff, and now we don't. Now we own our own production company, so that like takes starting LLC and like relearning how to take the reins of our own production also took time and energy and effort that we're still figuring out. So there's been a few stages of what it's been like to be in this working relationship and this creative relationship. So it's you know, it's considerable. And so into those people who are starting from a space of making a game of playing of being well, I don't know. I feel like so I got into this because I'm a comedian and I wanted to tell stories and do improvisation and play. You know, that's my goal, and to use these systems into this type of medium to be funny, to act, to to create characters and to tell collaborative stories. The gaming aspect of it, for me personally, is sort of just like the canvas upon which I'm painting, but I'm bringing my own paints. I think a lot of other people, it seems like, came up within gaming as their medium of choice. My medium of choice is stand-up comedy and improvisational comedy. And so to that group of people, and so I'm bringing that up because I think I already came in doing this, like, oh, this is going to be a like production. This is a production, like being on the web series is a production, being on a podcast is a production, being like, this is another piece of entertainment. And I think people who are coming up through a specifically gaming space, I'm not sure what kind of challenges they are going to have to deal with in terms of like, this is a game of people, and we used to have a game, and now suddenly we are figures. Now we are consumable products. Now we are consumable media and a business at the same time. These are all like interlocking aspects that I think just simply being in a entertainment space, you have a bit of use to. And I think simply coming from a gaming space, I wonder if you have to learn to develop a bit of like, what does it feel like to be consumed? What does it feel like to have your relationships with your friends and collaborators and coworkers be a part of the canvas upon which you are painting? That there's a lot of interpersonal and creative and parasocial challenges in that, much less running a business with people. It's crazy.
Group projects.
Yeah, outside of the gaming stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you, Tim, do an impression for me of the prototypical podcast fan?
an impression of a podcast fan?
Well, an impression of the Root Tales of Magic podcast.
You want me to do an impression of them?
Yeah.
That
you
will,
can paint a picture first. Paint a picture first, and then.
We have a lot of really passionate fans. We have people who have been listening for a long time. We have people who have like binged and caught up and now are listening in real time. We have people who binge and don't listen for a while and then binge again. We have a lot of fans who are illustrators. We have a lot because it's a good thing to listen to when you're like drawing stuff. So I don't know if there's like one, and also we have a lot of fans who are very active on our Discord and very active on our Patreon, but those are the ones who like are vocal online. And there's so many fans who aren't vocal online. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's one type of person who is our fan. I know there's a more vocal type, and those are the ones that we see online, but I don't think those are the majority of people who consume the podcast. So it's like it would be unfair to paint the majority of people with the most vocal.
Well, let's say you have like three main consumers. Let's pick one consumer and do an impression of them.
Yo, I wish Tim would be quiet. That is 1/3. That's 1/3 of our fans.
Some really helpful feedback.
A little more quiet. Maybe a little more in control of my speech. I play a very annoying character. And I think for me it's a real game of it's a character I'm playing. And I think for some people it's a little much. But that's part of the fun of why I do it.
What is the character you've had the most fun playing?
This main guy, his name's Stir Fry. He's a Kanku. He can talk. In the game, Kenku can only like mimic speech back to it, but I didn't want to do that, so we found a loophole that this Kenku, this little crow man, can talk. And he talks like this. And his name's Stir Fry. He speaks like this, and it's very affected in that way, a very, unnatural, an American. It's an American man with bad dictions take on the English accent, of course, and it's playing like that. So that's what I do, and he talks very, and I very much, I can stumble over my words a lot because I'm speaking a little faster than I can think sometimes. I can speak a little faster than I can think, but also I just like to keep on talking and going. So that's sort of that's the guy. That's the main guy.
Yeah.
And he's a killer, a rogue with the ability to kill.
When you are building a character, do you start on like a specific idea, fixate on it, and build it out, or are you usually just kind of like, this is what's occurring to me at the moment?
I like to start with a voice. I like to start with like an image. I like to have I like to have some kind of hook. I like to have a relationship with a party member already. I think that's really successful. Or the characters that I feel like have been most successful for me are ones who either begin with or pretty quickly have a really defined relationship with another party member, be it like for that character, he's like the manservant, the chef of another character, and I play another character in these are sort of space, the sci-fi Star Trek pastiche one where I play a character in the first episode, he gets engaged to another character, so they instantly have that sort of relationship. And having like rocks, because anytime I start with a big idea, it just never becomes playable. For some reason for me, if I have a really big, cool idea for a character, after 2 or 3 sessions, it becomes something else because I'm not good at like, oh, that would have been fun, but like my style of performance doesn't really like. I'm not that. I just don't know how to
You do better in the
design.
box.
Yeah, I just like I'm a little inside out. I'm a little like, oh, I start inside, and then once I sort of get rolling, I can sort of create. I can see the rhythms of the character, and then trust those rhythms to lead me to plot point or backstory or relationship. But if I start with like, he's this guy, he's done these things, blah 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 blah, I'm gonna like not be that natural because I'm like, oh, well, I can't be with a person because I have to shoehorn this thing in, which other people are really great at, like having that be really integrated, but that's a lot harder for me. So having relationship tends to be a great point of like, oh, I know how I act with this person, and that will help me figure out behavior, and that can help me really lay down backstory. Some backstory stuff is just like fun to have in the back of your head. And like, oh, great, there's a moment that can come out, great. But if I push for that backstory, it just like sucks. So, and I still like to think about a hook or a backstory, but I just have to trust myself I have to really give myself permission to let that go. There's an old saying in improv, it's hold on tightly, let go lightly. And it's all about like, don't back down the moment someone like contradicts you, or don't back down the moment someone like pushes back. Like hold on tightly to something that you think is a part of, your voice or your character, or your worldview, but let go lightly. If it comes by and that is completely like there's no space for that, let it go and it doesn't matter. So I feel like hold on tightly, let go lightly is both an improvisational motto I live by, but also in building character where it's like try to feel impassioned about stuff and try to feel certain about stuff and try to like have intentionality about stuff. But let go lightly, something happens that is more interesting than that thing was just an idea. And I'm saying this with a group of people who are very into that style of play and share that style of play and like my style of play. I don't want to, actor performance forward thing. I don't think it's for every group. But my group lets me.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what you're bringing to the table. And it definitely works or I've learned the rule of cool So it sounds like improv comedy being the forward element in a game is maybe more leading with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I do want to get into it. So improv comedy and TTRPGs. What advice would you give to someone who wants to hone the craft of improv comedy to improve their plays, and where should they begin?
So, I think the really annoying thing about improv is that it takes time doing it, for itself, for it to become really reflective in other work. I think improv is a great tool for a variety of mediums, performative and writing, of which gaming is both. And so, I took a lot of classes. Those cost money and time and investment in a scene, you know, and my, a scene of people who are interested in doing improvisational comedy in New York City, and so that was where I started doing stuff. And I do think classes are just a great way to test that space. You can't just like learn this alone. You have to learn it with people. In lieu of a class, which are expensive, and that takes time. And, I used to think improv was really egalitarian form of groupthink and group creativity and group and shared story building. But the reality of being on a stage in front of people, I think, is a real barrier. And I think improv is also available for those who don't want to be on stage. And I think it's like the best tool to get the best at improv, But so I would tell people to take a class, where it's affordable, where it's nearby, where it feels fun and cool, and where it has shows that you like. I think if you take a class at an improv theater and then see the shows and don't like the shows, then you shouldn't be there, because like ultimately those are spaces for artists to present themselves. And if you're not inspired by that work, there's only so much you can take from that craft there. And I think a lot of people get locked into theater spaces or even just like scenes. I mean, it's the same with stand-up too. You like, oh, this is where I can do stand-up, but I don't like any of the stand-ups doing this stuff, but they seem cool and now they're getting jobs. I gotta be here. That's not a great space to build your skills as an artist and a creator. So to be honest with yourself about that. In terms of like outside of building that craft in class, I came up with a little system that I started using. I teach this class at the Brick Theater called Improv for theater artists and also other artists too, which is basically being like, I'm teaching improv for people whose goal are not to be improvisational comedians. Their goals are, they have different creative aspirations and they want to be excited. They want to get a taste of improv and how they can bring it into their own craft of gaming. I think is a part of that too. And so in teaching that class, I came up with a bit of a system that I think other people can use. And I sort of call it like the bartender's game, I guess, where basically it's for a GM and one other person, or a GM and one other person. And basically the GM is going to be a bartender to you being 5 different characters. So it's like, if it was you or I, it would be like, I would come up to you and be like, we live in a loose fantasy world here. Like, that's the thing,
Okay.
Just be like, hey, how are you? So did you get a chance to look at the menu, or do you know what you want to drink?
So looking over, do you have any mezcal-based cocktails?
Yeah. We have the blue ox, and we mix that with a sort of it's a magical one. So we have magical mezcals and we have non-magical mezcals depending on what you're into. The blue ox will transform you into an ox for a day, and just to be aware of that, you are sort of, when you are that blue ox for that day, there are multiple quests happening of people who are trying to take you back to their kingdom. So if you want that, that's cool, but if you don't want that, that's okay too.
My animal totem is rabbit. Do you have anything with rabbit?
No, we don't do that here. We're not allowed to.
I knew I should have looked online beforehand.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna take your time, figure it out. I'm gonna help this
Okay.
person right here.
Okay.
Oh my god, an ogre in a in a bar, and then so then you'd sort of be an ogre at that bar.
Okay.
So like basically the idea is like one person is practicing being normal and helpful in this fantasy world, and the other person is practicing I'm at a bar. I'm an ogre
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and I don't want to eat here, but I want information. Have you seen somebody coming here? And I'm like, oh, whoa, I don't want to go back there. Let me tell you this person over here. And you're like, I'm a fairy, and I'm from a different land, and I want somebody to marry me. Will you marry me? I'm actually only a bartender here. Like, so basically, it's one person trying on different characters while the other person sort of guides them through and sort of straight mans them for a while, and then you trade that back and forth. And that was a tool that I sort of developed, just to like practice, to try to figure out how improv could be done with just two people without it being weird, and to sort of practice the idea of like, how do you invest in different types of characters in this sort of game master player setting, where the player had sort of freedom to make big voices and big choices without having to be locked into it for the rest of their campaigns, and also for the DM to sort of practice being like, how can I be as helpful? This person's clearly trying to figure out their character. What can I do in the scene to help them out with that? I think that's something that people can do with each other before a session, after a session, trying stuff like that, just to like try that pure improv space that will get used, that once you build that muscle, it just sort of comes out in the game itself.
I feel like that'd be a really good warm-up for a game.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Also, as we were doing that, I'm like, I hate that I can see myself. That's
Sure.
Yeah, totally. What words of encouragement would you give to someone who wants to start implementing voices and accents into their plays, but is low-key shy?
Same thing I would say about improv, same thing I would say about comedy, same thing I would say about anything creative, is that failure is a gift, humility is utility, being cool is a charade. Is that the word I mean? Being cool is a charade? Is that the word I mean?
Right?
Yeah, but
Charade
I
is
mean,
just another way. Yeah.
but I want to do a highfalutin version of charade.
Yeah.
Being cool is not fun,
No.
and that doing poorly in voices are only going to teach you how to be better later. I have for a really vocally enthusiastic performer, I've got terrible diction. I can't do an accent to save my fucking life. I've got like a few stocks of characters that voices I can do that I feel like I know how to bring humor, rhythm, and humanity to. I can like, I think I'm confident as an actor, but I'm not confident as like the best vocalist in the world. Like, I'm not a great, if you gave me an accent, like ask me to do an accent, I can't do it. So I am a bit knowing that, I feel a bit freedom of like, I'm gonna be doing a big broad voice and I want to bring as much of my acting to it as I can. But I'm starting from a place if I know I'm failing, so there's always going to be someone who can do that type of technical stuff better than you, but it is more fun to figure out where your natural failure can create something authentic and something that is like a real character outside yourself. I think that's true. And same thing I would say, about like how to use improv in your games. Every bad role you have, that is a prompt to create a fun moment. Like every bad roll is a prompt to make a fun. If you should be having more fun with your bad rolls than your good rolls, you should be able to say like, if your DM or Jim will allow, it should be fun for you to be like, oh, I got a bad roll. Can I tell you how I mess up? That should be fun for you. I think personally. And so I think voice, be big, be broad, listen to yourself, create character, and it's not what you're shooting for, it's what it is. I think you're going to shoot for something outside yourself, but what you're going to create is something else that only you can make, I think.
So, Tim, are you ready to do a demonstration of character building through improv comedy?
Yeah.
Yes. Peter, would you mind sharing your screen so we can get a prompt? We're using itch.io, the generator, prompt generator. Last week we did it for magic item creations, and we had a couple of illustrators
That's
flesh it
cool.
out. Okay, Peter, let's see. Are you able to share your screen? Yes. Okay. And before we go into building out that character, Peter, would you go to itch.io? The link is in the outline. Okay. So, did you mention the character that you're playing right now on your podcast?
Yeah, a Kenku, a little crow
Kenku.
man, named Stir Fry, a little bird man who speaks like this, and a little like that, and a little like this. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing.
How'd you go about building?
I started with my friend Chris Hastings, who was on our show, Christopher Hastings, who he played like a sort of old, failed lich skeleton man, and this guy was like his personal assistant, who loved him, and of course was the recipient of a lot of scorn and antipathy from the old lich. So that started, and I wanted to be like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. I wanted to be like a little schemer.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that shit. I think it's so funny that like oh, the games we play, and like, yes, I've always got something up my sleeve. Like, oh yes, I've found a way around all of you. But he pretty quickly became a lot more than that, or a lot other than that. And it was just sort of like making natural choices within the game. And then when a natural choice happened, sort of writing that down and being like, that surprised me. Also, or that was a big move. That has to mean something. Like that can't really be an arbitrary thing. Like in the second campaign, he tries to kill somebody point blank who is helpless. And I was like, that's not what I was expecting from this character, but that means he's got a different relationship to killing than I do. And also, like,
he's much more evil than you thought.
Yeah, or just like there was something there that like I realized, because I was playing him very comedic and very light, and then he'd have this moment. I was like, oh, that has to counterbalance this somehow. I have to find moments where the reason that and the humor live together. There has to be a reason for that too. So I have like sort of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And if things seem disparate, they happen. So try to like internally create reasons and connections. And usually that stuff comes out in the play.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that stuff comes out in the play.
It comes out in the play. Okay. So whenever you're ready, if you could pull up itch.io for the generator. Cool. Yes, I can. How far are you guys into your campaign right now?
Say again?
How far are you guys into your campaign right now?
I think we are on episode like 67 or 68, and we've been doing it since like 2019. Should I click this thing? This creator thing? Okay.
No, because Peter's gonna put on the shared screen.
So we are on like episode, I think 67 of our campaign. So we've done like that, and that's been like 4 years. We came out. We tried to come out every other week. We had some periods where we weren't doing that, and we're back to doing that, and we're very happy about that. But so we have like
What platform do you guys use to schedule?
used a schedule. We just slack. We slack it, and
Slack it.
we slack it. We slack everything. We love Slack.
Out Slack.
Yeah, and there were like a few like we do a lot of we have done a lot of other games that we do for the Patreon stuff, and sometimes we bring those to the main feed, if we have weeks or stuff. So, not every main feed episode has been that campaign, and we did do a mini campaign within when COVID started to figure out what we were going to, because we were recording in person, suddenly we were recording on mic over Zoom, so we like did a mini campaign to figure that out. But yeah, we've been doing it. These characters we've done for over 60 episodes.
Okay. Amazing. Okay, so we have our prompt up. We have here, what is it called? Scythe or Scythe. But let's go ahead and let's click generate. Okay, historical, the theme. Okay. Yes, so generate historical. So the theme is historical. Let's go to individual selections. Okay, and for each, we just click to get some information. So type of picture, paparazzi photo, clothing prompt, in summer clothes, AU prompt, noir, different version, as an alien, RPG class, paladin, miscellaneous prompts, after a fight, AU combo. What does AU stand for? Alternate universe. Okay, alternate universe. In an alternate universe combining pirates and steampunk, dressing up in an alternate universe. In an outfit from historical South Asia in a superhero alternate universe. Tim, do you have enough here to build out a character?
So this person is an alien? Different version alien?
It's a paladin. Say that one more time.
These are general. Okay, cool. Paparazzi photo. Okay.
I will copy them into the chat.
Occasionally, I'm thinking he's an alien, and he's also a paladin. And he's an alien, and he's also a paladin. He's an alien, and he's also a paladin. He's an alien, he's also a paladin, and it's a noir. So I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I'm not telling answers. I'm not taking any answers. I'm sorry. I'm not going to answer any questions about the case. I'm not going to answer any questions about the case. I care too much. I care too much about the people who hired me, and the people who have yet to be found. And that was him. Tentacles coming out of his mouth. When people hire an alien detective, noir, an alien detective like me, I have to have a code, and my code is I don't get paid until I solve the case. I do not get paid until I solve the case, and I don't solve most of my cases, which is so I'm trying to do better about that. I'm trying to do better at that because I need a lot of moolah. Yeah, I come from an alien place where they didn't have money. Come to Earth, apparently there's money everywhere. So yeah, I came with a code. I came to help people out. Turns out you need a little more than that. So I'm figuring out money is the real thing I'm figuring out. The detective thing, I got. Having a mission, I got. It's the money thing. I need to figure out new systems and make that work. But paparazzi, I'm telling the paparazzi. I'm actually telling the paparazzi more than I wanted to tell them. I'm telling you all more than I want to tell you. But yet, you're just so interested in me. See, my alien planet, no one is interested in me like this. And this paparazzi is. We got somewhere,
Yeah, amazing. Wait, Peter, can you zoom in on, because right now we're looking at like a feature on our app where you can start building in character information. Yeah, Peter, can you zoom in on your page? Yeah, you can see the information. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so add section, simple character. Tim, can you name your character?
The guy just did.
Yeah.
He's a detective. He's a paladin in that sense. So he's got, he's Detective Law. His name is Detective Law. Law, L-A-W.
Detective Law.
Like his brother Jude. Jude Law is also an alien in this world. Came to be an actor. This guy came to be a detective. Very different.
Alien detective. Also, if anyone wants to add in the chat some details, this will be a collab.
My name is
Okay,
Detective
so-
Law. I do not get paid unless I solve the crime. And I won't hold, and I love you.
Peter, are there any other pieces of description we can fill out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Peter said that if this is an NPC, is there a secret that this character wants to tell the player? And I think the secret this person wants to tell is my brother is Jude Law. Don't tell anyone. My brother is Jude Law. He's got a very different mission than I do. His is to entertain, playing scoundrels who are beautiful. Mine is to receive whatever lonely widow comes at my door asking to find what happened to her husband. I work with widows exclusively.
So, Detective Law's biggest secret in life is that his brother is Jude Law.
Yeah. And that's actually very story forward because, as an NPC, what I can say is that, like, this is actually a noir where Hollywood is a big, like, the Hollywood scene is also a big, place for the underbelly of the crime, the underbelly of crime that this amazing paladin is confronted against.
Incredible.
Am I rolling anything?
We're determining if we're rolling.
Yeah, I mean, the way I play it, no. I'll spill it if you make it fun. But let's just say you gotta do a persuasion. You gotta do a persuasion check or something.
We're rolling for persuasion. Is this a persuasive detective? Let's find out.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. I mean, I can randomize him. I can randomize him pretty well, This guy's This guy's he's so strong. Let's put everything in strength. Let's put everything in strength. Really strong, really charismatic. He's also really wise and really intelligent. And he's actually sort of like quite dexterous as well. And he's his constitution is actually also quite high. So I have to say, like across the board, I think he's probably pretty high. This is a pretty powerful guy. And most people are awed by his his physique and his brain and his charisma. If I'm being asked.
Mhm.
if I
And we're asking.
Yeah, if I have to roll it, yeah, he's good at everything.
Mhm.
That's actually not true. I mean, I in real character creation, I feel like I love it when I get really low rolls and have to figure out why. How do I play a low roll? How do I play a character being bad at something? Or that how do I play something not being their skill, but they have to do a lot, That's a real gift.
Yeah, failing is more funny than succeeding.
Yes, in my opinion.
Okay. Peter, how are we looking?
Yeah.
Well, there's no problem with an imbalanced character in this alternate universe
Yeah, he's
of
amazing.
noir.
Oh, let's make Jude Law. Can we make Jude Law as a character?
Yeah, let's make Jude Law as a character.
Oh my god, yeah.
Jude Law's an NPC.
I'm Jude Law is an English actor who has been seen in such movies as The Talented Mr. Ripley, I Heart Huckabees, and of course was a star of the television show The New Pope, or The Young Pope. I think I'm gonna go high on Constitution, and second charisma, and then wisdom. And I think low on dexterity. Oh wait, so here's what I'm thinking. He plays such unlikable characters, um, and so I think but he always makes them so compelling. So I think charisma is definitely a part of it. But I'm wondering if it's constitution or dexterity, where it's like he's able to sort of withstand being a blowhard. He is able to withstand so much so much unlikable stuff about him. I'm wondering if I want to put that if I want to make that a constitution thing. I want to make that a constitution thing. I think this guy's got great constitution. You can't phase him. You can't phase him. That's why he plays such complex roles. So high constitution and high charisma is what I'm saying for this guy. I'm being told to roll.
We're gonna roll for stats.
How you all want to roll? We got different ways of rolling. Where is my 20 side? Here we go. You know what? Let's just make things
I
simple.
believe we can. I think we can roll within the creator platform. Is that?
There's a bunch of ways to do.
Okay.
There's a bunch of ways to do this, but let's just do this simple. Let's just do a 20 sided for everything, for every stat.
Okay.
Let's roll the dice. Big wins, big losses. So let's start with let's just and you know what? Yeah, okay. Okay, I got a 1. My first thing is a 1. Let's give that to strength. He's wiry.
Wayfish.
Yeah. Oh, actually, let's give it to intelligence. It's a fool's errand to become an actor. Yeah. So let's give him a 1 for intelligence. Jude Law, I'm a big fan. I now got 14. Let's give that to wisdom. You have to be really wise to be an actor. You can't be smart to be an actor, but you have to be wise. 15. Let's give that to well, here, let's see. I want to pick the 15, 13. That one fell off the table. 15, 13, and 14. So let's get 15 to charisma, 14 to constitution, and 13 to dexterity. Am I missing anything? 13.
13 for dexterity.
You're gonna
Looking
have
for
to,
modifiers.
you're gonna have to remind me how to do that. No, wisdom was 1. Oh, I didn't do strength. Strength is 18. Well, let's play it. Yeah. Apparently he's very strong. You gotta be very strong to be an actor. Let's be honest. To be that kind of like frame on TV, you actually have to have a lot of very you gotta be very tight.
Mm-hmm. Not everything's a stunt double.
No.
You have to stand for a lot.
You do. You also have to be very elegant on screen. That takes some strength.
Mm-hmm. The first rated R movie I ever saw was Alfie, starring Jude Law.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was it?
Lots of nudity.
Whoa.
It was. I do remember enjoying it, but that was also, I think, because it was 12. I was 12, and I was seeing things I was not supposed to see.
Sure. So it was amazing.
Yes. But it was about Alfie Demonizer. So
Sure.
I can't imagine it got good reviews.
That guy can carry a movie. I'm sure he had he won some people over.
Very suave. Dexterity is 13. Any special abilities?
To Jude Law?
Yeah.
Wow. I would love for him to be a potion master in some ways. What's the ability that makes him a potion master? Neither do I, but I'd love him to be a potion master. Yes. So he's probably got some kind of magic back in there. Yeah. So yeah, let's give him chemistry and potion master. That's chemistry and cooking. Chemistry and cooking. This guy's got special abilities to create strange vapors from his darkened cauldron that he keeps in his trailer when he's not needed on set. Yes, this is a dark Jude Law for when he is not on set doing his job as a professional actor. He is back in his trailer creating potion after potion, which can be sold to the highest bidder. And in Hollywood, there are some high bidders to go around, especially those connected to
whatever projects have been lucky enough to get Jude Law on board as a lead or supporting actor with a meaty enough role to make Jude Law want to do it, or cameo for the fun of it, the pay of it, or maybe it's just because he's doing a favor for a friend who's making a movie and he's just throwing him a bone. Those are the reasons I can think of Jude Law being on set. And whatever reason you can think of, just know that back in his trailer, he's making potions that he can sell to the highest bidder.
They also help.
Okay, Tim, I'm gonna paint a scene right now.
Okay.
Where I'm gonna have you play both Detective Law and Jude Law. So let's say hypothetically in an alternative universe, these Law brothers who haven't spoken to one another in years, there's been a rift. So they're both entering a bodega in space, and they're both at the same moment reaching for the last carton of oat milk.
Of oat milk?
Oat milk.
What strange aliens they are. They drink oat milk alone. Well,
that's my Jude. What are you doing in space? Aren't you usually in Hollywood doing your strange movies?
Oh, my old brother, the detective. Yeah, every once in a while I come back up into space just to remind myself where I come from, just so I don't get too big of a head. You wouldn't understand how Hollywood has changed me.
Oh, I know how it's changed you. You don't care about the law anymore. You don't care about doing what's right. You just care about playing pretend and making money.
If only you know if only you knew the depths I had lowered myself to.
Oh, I know. I'm a detective, you see. I'm a detective, you see, and I know everything you've been going on. And I know everything you've been doing, and I regret to say I have not called you out because of our family ties.
You're a good man. Better man than me. Me being Jude Law. Don't you know? I gotta tell you something. I know a little something about your case.
You know about the you know about the my most recent widow's missing husband?
Oh yeah, and it's because I am that husband.
What? But the husband was somebody completely different.
It was a role I was playing. An acting role. Don't you see? I've been so addicted to being somebody else. I've been making potions to allow me to change my form, so I no longer need a set to act. I can act in the lives of normal people.
But that's unethical.
And scene. High drama.
Here's the tip. If you entertain yourself, something will happen. And whether or not, and the good thing about doing podcasts is that you can usually cut that stuff if it isn't good. But this scenario was pretty good, so you didn't have to risk cutting it.
Exactly. Okay, Peter, do we have anything left to fill out, or do we have Detective Law and Jude Law set up? Yeah. Okay, final look at Detective Law. And then again, this is if we're building it out on TabletopTown app. We have Detective Law. I'm looking at it. 100%. No, 100 strength.
God.
100 strength. 100 charisma.
Yeah, but you know,
and then what was that?
No, just saying it's more unrealistic, and it's maybe part of the reason why I'm more into playing Jude Law than Detective Law. Detective Law is such a stick in the mud, so powerful, but Jude Law is so dynamic with his flaws, and he's so beautiful.
Has intrigue.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty dynamic in my flaws.
Tim, that has been Improv Comedy and TTRPG. we've done it. We've demonstrated. We've discussed the ins and outs. Tim, do you have any social media you'd like to plug?
Yeah, my Instagram is I am King Bozo. Um, my Twitter is Timothy Platt. Um, check out Rude Tales of Magic, and also Oh These Those Stars of Space. And if you're in Brooklyn, come out to a show. I do shows all the time. I post about them on my Instagram.
Amazing. Woo! And I guess I'm also promoting something. I have a show this Saturday I'm hosting at the Cliffs in Gowanus. If you're a climber, come on out. But otherwise, follow TabletopTown app across platforms. Look out because we will be available for download before you know it. So,
Ooh.
very exciting stuff. Guys, on the count of three, we say goodbye. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye.
Goodbye.